Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today's video is a solo winter camping adventure with a backpacking tent. So this is going to be a cold camping overnighter. I am going to be lighting a small campfire just off to the side of the tent, but ultimately we're going to be relying on sleeping pad and sleeping bag to stay warm tonight, which will help simplify this adventure with minimal gear and minimal wood cutting. So as you guys can see, I've already got the tent set up. My sleeping pad is inside, as well as my down sleeping bag. I still need to get my doormat area configured, so I did bring a canvas ground sheet that I'm going to lay down here. That way I can sit on it, kneel on it, and I don't have to worry about getting wet. So I'm going to get that configured over here, bring my backpack over, get all my cooking gear set up, and then probably start on collecting water and boiling up some water for a hot coffee, and then take the day from there, guys. guys, so now that I've got everything set up and squared away, I've already made myself a nice hot cup of coffee as well, which is very nice today. And before I start doing too much camp tasks and moving around a little bit, I want to explain some information about this trip. So currently right now it is 0 degrees Celsius, and it has been going down to -1 all the way up to +2 sporadically throughout the day. So it's very strange. We've got a very strange air current coming through. But you guys will notice that when I poured what was left out of my water bottle, so I did drink a bit of this on the way hiking in, what was left in here was still liquid, but when I got down to the bottom, I had to shake all the slush out. So it was starting to freeze. It's supposed to go down to -8 degrees Celsius tonight, but we'll see what the weather brings. With all these air currents coming in, it's going to be fluctuating all over the place. So with that all set aside, I do have to collect some firewood later on tonight because I have a fire pit right here that I want to enjoy. And I actually got very lucky because there's a freshly fallen tree just off to the side here, and it's got some really nice limbs on it that I'm going to cut off, and that should be good enough for my firewood this evening. Where I don't have a hot tent, I don't have to cut everything very small. I can just take the whole branch, burn half, restock it in the fire, and burn the other half. So now that I'm out of water, I'm also going to have to collect some water from the lake. And I'm not going to be melting snow because I have a canister stove, and melting snow with a canister stove is extremely non-effective. The efficiency is just horrible. You'll burn a whole can of gas just to make a cup of water. It's just not worth it. So later on this evening, I may fill my 750 up with snow and put it over the fire to help melt some snow for more water. But ultimately, I'm just going to be taking my kettle down to the lake, fill that up, and then I'll boil the water from there and then leave the kettle out here. And if it freezes overnight, I'll just bring it back up to temp in the morning. So that's water. Food is all in the backpack, and the beautiful thing about wintertime is we're in a refrigerator, so I don't have to worry about food going bad, and I'll dive into that later on to show you what I brought. But right now, I do want to enjoy my coffee because it is getting cooled off rather quickly, and as soon as I'm done this, I'm going to tidy up, grab the saw, and get after that firewood. So cheers, guys. Time for a coffee break. Alright, so I've got a decent amount of firewood cut and split. I still need to split quite a bit of it, but I've got a lot of it done right now. And the reason why I'm splitting it all down, I get asked this often, is all the wood on the outside is totally wet right now because it's been snowing, it's been wet, we're at plus temperatures, negative temperatures. So the outside is totally wet, the inside is nice and dry. Not only that, fire catches on sharp edges. So if you split the wood, it creates a nice jagged edge for the flames to really get in and grab versus a round log. Round logs are great for long, low burning fires. So if you have a nice round log put in your wood stove, the flames will go around the nice roundness of it. But as soon as you cut and split it, it gives a sharp edge for the fire to bite into, and it burns much faster. So I'm going to split all this stuff down so it has a really, really nice surface for the flames to get at. But I'm going to stop that just for a second, and I want to point something out. Right now, it is plus 2 degrees Celsius. Now, here on my channel, you guys have seen me camp at negative 18 Celsius, negative 26, negative 25, negative 14, a whole bunch of really cold negative temperatures. And something really, really important, right now, plus 2 is the most dangerous temperature to winter camp at. So you can go to the negative 10, 20, negative 25, all of those are perfectly fine. When you get the plus 1 and plus 2, you'll notice the tent is totally soaked and it's getting rained on right now. The snow's melting out of the trees, my ground pad is all soaking wet, and what's going to happen to that later on tonight is the temperature is going to plummet well below zero. All of this is going to freeze. So my backpack is soaked, that's going to freeze solid. My floor mat here is going to freeze solid. Whatever clothing I have on is going to freeze. So often you see a lot of people camping in really cold winter temperatures and they think that that is dangerous. Don't be fooled by the plus 1 and plus 2, because honestly, those are the most dangerous temperatures that you got to watch out for. It is literally raining on my tent right now. So I'm going to probably unpin that door and zip the flap shut just so no water goes in on my sleeping bag. And later on I'll unzip it, open it up. I'm going to continue cutting up this wood. I just wanted to point that out, that don't be totally afraid of the really cold temperatures, because when it's really dry and cold, your equipment will stay dry and warm, but when it gets wet, that's the most dangerous part. So I'm going to close that and get back to wood processing. Alright, I'm starting to build the fire lay right now, and probably notice I had 2 piles of birch bark. So what I did is I took the birch bark that was really wet and old. It's off of an older tree, so it's really thick. It's not like fine bark, like fine tissue paper. It's really thick and quite clunky. It's already wet, so that is in the fire pit right now, and I put more of the finer inner bark underneath of the rainfly of the tent. So I have 2 styles of bark. This stuff's already wet. It will burn. It just needs a flame to burn. The other stuff that I put under the vestibule area is really fine tissue bark. It's dry. It'll catch from a spark. Once that catches from a spark, that'll then light from the flame, so on and so forth, and we've got fire. So I'm just taking all these split pieces that I've already split up, and I'm just kind of making like a pyramid shape. I find for me, this is the best way to get a fire going when it's wet and rainy out. And also it acts as basically like a little teepee to keep a lot of the rain and snow falling off of the drier wood. So I'm putting the bark facing out and the dry wood facing in, kind of like a shingling effect. So I'm just building like a little firehouse, and I'm going to get this going very shortly. One thing I will mention is all the firewood that I have collected today is all softwood, and the tent is probably about 8 feet away. So it is soaking wet right now, and the wind is generally going this way, but there are going to be embers popping and sparks flying. So I'm going to have to take caution and be very, very careful with where they're going and how large the fire gets. I don't really need it to be a huge fire. I just want it enough for warmth and to stay dry, and a little bit of cooking and boiling water. So I think that's sufficient right there for what I need. And when it comes time to light the actual fire, I'll go in the vestibule, grab the really fine dry bark, get my wet gloves off, place that in there, put a spark in there, and we'll have fire. And then later on I can pick away at splitting more of this down and leaving some of it in round form as well. So now that I've got this squared away, I do want to go and secure some water. So I'm going to grab my kettle, head down to the lake, get some liquid water, and then come back up and probably get the fire going about that time. Alright, well now that I've got the campfire established and it seems to be burning really strong, I've piled on a whole bunch of wood, even some rounds, just because this initial stage of hot fire and coals, this is when you want to get all that wet stuff on there to help dry it, and then you start that process of repeating itself. So all this wood down here, the outsides are damp, and I am going to split down some of it like I did with this piece, but ultimately, once the fire's hot enough, even these rounds, toss those on there, they'll bake a little bit and dry out, and then they'll catch fire. So it's all about having that really hot coal base, and once you've established that, pretty much any wood you put on there will burn. So I want to let that burn down really nicely, and we probably only have about 2 more hours worth of daylight. So I'm going to need to go collect a stick for supper because I do need to cook meat on a stick, and that's half of the meal. And I'll show you guys the other half once we get cooking. But I am going to go collect a stick, get it sharpened up, get that ready, get all my other food situated, and then most likely start cooking because I like to have that done before nightfall. So this is definitely nice and warm too. Alright, so for supper, what I've got going on here is I've got my 750 pot full of coconut flavored basmati rice. I also brought a little cube of chicken seasoning that I'm going to be putting in there. And then I've got a sausage up here. I also have 2 garlic flavored naan breads. So, pretty basic supper, nice little trail meal. I'm just waiting for the sausage to cook all the way through, bring it up to temp. The rice is already pre-cooked. I just needed to basically add water and bring it up to temperature. So I might as well get the flavor packet put into there. Nice steamed rice. Get this mixed in there, and it's kind of a weird dish. It's going to be coconut chicken flavored rice with sausage. So when you're out in the woods, anything goes, right? So we'll drop that in there, have that flavored up by the time that sausage is done. And I think that's going to be it for this evening for cooking. Other than the snacks that I have inside of the tent, basically not going to be eating again till breakfast. So I want to have a really nice, well-rounded meal here as far as carbs and protein, and you know, just get something in me while the fire's roaring. And then later on this evening, I've got other foods like peanut butter in a Ziploc bag, crackers, cheese, typical foods to keep you nice and warm through the night. Almonds, peanuts, trail mix, things of that nature. So we'll let that stand for a little bit, bring that sausage up to temp, get it nice and cooked. We're almost there on it actually. Just got one more side to cook, so a few more minutes and I'll be ready to eat. And it is raining, guys, by the way. The temperature is still below 0 and it is full on raining. The tent is just sopping wet, soaking wet. But I know it's going to turn freezing later on tonight. Like I said, this is one of the most dangerous times to go camping in winter, is when it's above 0, just slightly above, and then it dips below in the winter time overnight. So it's going to be a cold one tonight. Definitely going to freeze up. I'll be surprised if it doesn't. I'll be surprised if it stays warm, but ultimately I think it's going to get cold. So I'm going to wait for that and then eat supper. Alright guys, it is just about time to call it a night. I am totally soaked. It is still raining constant. It does not let up. It's just rain, 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 rain. My sweater is still a little bit wet on the back side, and I can actually feel the water coming through on my shoulders of this hoodie. That's the reason why I'm coming in, because if this hoodie gets wet, I am not going to have a good time. So I need to keep this nice and dry. My pants are fairly dry as well. I was kind of standing over the fire. My boots are half dry, so I feel pretty comfortable with where I'm at right now as far as wetness. The hoodie, if that gets wet again tomorrow, no worries. Once I start hiking out of here, I'll be totally fine. So this is basically going to be it for the night. I would love to sit out until it's totally dark out, but unfortunately you just got to know when to call it quits. Now the benefit of this is I just loaded more wood on the fire, and that is all the wood that I have. But laying inside of the tent, I can actually still see the fire. So what I'm going to do is zip this door down partially a little later on once I'm in here and all organized, and I'll be able to look out and still see the fire and keep dry, because I can pull this ground sheet all the way over and leave only bare ground exposed, so whatever rains down, it'll just be the ground. So that is a benefit, that I'll be able to lay in here and enjoy the campfire, and when I do zip it shut, I'll still be able to hear it and see the glow coming through the tent as well. So, but it is getting to that point where I have to call it quits for the day, because I'm getting wet and it's getting nightfall and it is getting a little bit colder. So I'm going to say goodnight to you guys. I want to get these boots off, deal with all these wet clothes, get changed, and get in. So catch you guys in the morning. Good morning, everybody. It is a beautiful morning out here in the forest. A couple things are different. As you guys can notice, there is no more snow as it rained like crazy last night, and I don't have my wool hoodie on. So my wool hoodie's still inside of the tent. It is freakishly warm out right now. It is plus 12 degrees Celsius. Plus 12. And last night it went down to -1 for a minute. I got a little bit of ice starting to form on the tent, and then it just poured with rain shortly after I went in. So pretty wild temperature swings lately. The other day it was down to -10, got dumped on with snow, and then yesterday's temperatures, last night, and then right now plus 12 degrees Celsius this morning. So that's a big change. That is a huge change. There is no snow in the forest. It rained. It is nice and warm out right now. And there's a lot of fog rolling off the lake too, so it's definitely crazy weather for December. It is still December right now, guys, at the time of filming. So pretty wild. I had a very good night's sleep though. I was inside on my pad and in my sleeping bag, but the thing is, that is a -18 sleeping bag. I unzipped it and used it as a top quilt. That's how comfortable it was last night. So the sound of the rain on the tent and in the forest, it was amazing. I had a great night's sleep. Woke up this morning, heard a few chickadees and squirrels bouncing around in the trees. The sun is making its way up right now, but there are a lot of clouds in the sky, so it's going to be spotty sunshine. So I just came back from a tree. I seen this fallen tree, and I said, hey, you know what? That looks like a pretty awesome elevated seat with the lakefront view as the sun's coming up and the mist is rolling off the water. So I was over there hanging out for a little bit, come back over here for a top up. And I've already done breakfast inside of the tent. I had some snacks in there way early this morning. So basically, just gonna sit back and enjoy a little bit more coffee, guys. Okay, so coffee's totally finished this morning, and it's gonna be time to start packing up very shortly. I just got my backpack. I had that underneath of the vestibule on the other side of the tent. So I got it out this morning to get all my cooking gear out, but I did have that on the back side underneath because it started raining. Wanted to keep it protected. So I've just got that over here right now. My mat is still down on the ground, which is completely, totally drenched. So that'll be going on the outside of the backpack. Sleeping bag and pad inside are totally dry, so I'm not worried about that. But I want to reiterate what I said yesterday about it being the most dangerous time of the year to go camping. And this is just an example of that. I thought for sure it was going to go to freezing last night, and I was well prepared for it. I've got my winter pad, my winter bag, winter clothes, totally prepared for it. And look at what we get. We get a curveball with plus 12 degrees and no more snow. So it's pretty wild with the temperatures, especially here in eastern Canada. We are on an oceanic kind of area. We've got a lot of coastlines, a lot of warm air comes in, a lot of cold air comes in. So you never really know what the weather's going to bring. And today is definitely a warm front. It is a warm day, but I was still prepared for the cold. So all this water, I've got to get shaken off the tent. Basically, I'm just going to cram everything in the backpack. Get the sleeping bag in there first because I don't want to get that wet. And then cram all this in on top, maybe use a dry bag and just kind of continue doing that. But definitely be prepared for winter temperatures. Even if it's going to be warm, don't worry about shaving a few grams or a few ounces off your pack weight. If you can't carry the pack weight, just stay home. That's what I always tell my friends. They always try and pack light, and I say, you know what? You can either pack to be prepared or you can pack to be light. One of those two, you can't do both. So this way I was prepared, and I definitely had a great time. I was warm and comfortable. So I'm going to get everything packed up here and hit the trail with this beautiful sunny morning. The sun is still coming up. Well guys, that is everything all packed up inside of the backpack, even my heavy wool sweater. So I threw that in the very bottom on top of the sleeping bag. I tried to keep things dry, but ultimately everything in there soaked. So I just crammed everything in there. I'll worry about it when I get home. I did find the snow though. If you guys will look right behind me, there's the snow directly underneath of my tent, and that is all the snow left in the forest. So pretty awesome trip. We went from snow, cold to warm, rain, and here we are in a little bit of sunshine this morning. So I'm very happy with the way this went. If you guys have any questions or comments, drop them down below. And until next time, peace out guys, and I'll see you in the next adventure.